Yes, and please don't have children.
Yes, because that's going to make things a lot more difficult. Anyway, let's get to callers, because there's
Absolutely,
people who agreed to stay up late with us. You're up late with the atheist. We've got Kim in Los Angeles.
Hi, hello?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? I wasn't expecting you guys to come in so briefly.
I can put you on hold and bring you back in a minute.
No, I'm ready now.
Yeah, I thought so. What do you got?
Well, I spoke with a gentleman that had me on hold, and I told him that I'm 37 years old, and I started questioning God when I was about 13 in the maybe mid-'80s. I was one of those kids that would come home and my stepfather would, whack me or hit me for small or little of nothing. And I remember praying so hard, asking God to make him stop, or why is he doing this to me? And it just seemed like the more I prayed, the more, aggressive the abuse became. And got to the point where I felt like I wanted to commit suicide and just all that. And I just always felt like a weirdo, different, like no one could understand me. And I started out a good person with a good heart, wanting to change the world. And then I saw that, majority of people, they come at you with saying that, oh, you just got to let go and let God. I hear that a lot in my race. And it just starts to really irritate me to hear that, because it's like they're just dismissing the whole situation and just putting that in there to make themselves feel like they said something special,
Yeah, it's the exact same platitudes that I was talking about a minute ago. I hated him when I was a believer. I hate him twice as much now.
And if you think about it, I don't know from you guys' experience, but for me, it seems like the more closer that I supposedly got to God, the more things came against me, the more tests, the more problems, the more letdowns. And I feel like if God really cared about people the way that it's said in the Bible or whatever, why would he allow this other force to play games? It's like a monopoly. Like, okay, you want me, then you got to go through this. That's not lovable. That's not a good... To me, that makes me wonder, what is this all about,
Well, I think that one of the issues with this whole platitude of, this let go, let God thing is that it encourages this kind of passivity about your situation.
Yeah.
It encourages you to stop trying to change it, because the idea is that, the supernatural entity who loves you will just rescue you.
And what about, like, when you're born, you start out genuinely an innocent person. You have no judgmentalness about you or whatever, and then you grow up and other human beings contaminate your thinking, and then for that you get punished and you go to hell. I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, depending on what doctrine you bought into, you probably weren't viewed as being born innocent. The doctrine of original sin is such that, obviously from a secular point of view, your kid's starting off innocent and then people are polluting their mind, but from from many Christian doctrines that involve original sin, the child is starting off with a black slate, actually. I'd like to go back for a second to something you mentioned before about how it seemed that the closer you got with God, the worse things became. And I like the fact that you recognized that and saw a problem in it, because what happens so many times is people will then dig through and find Bible verses and supported by ministers who will say, that's the devil coming after you because he doesn't want you to have a good relationship with God.
Exactly.
And you caught on to the fact that even if that was true, why would God permit that to somebody who clearly loved and wanted to do what they were supposed to do?
Because to me, it's an unfair fight.
It's an absurd thing. It breeds a persecution complex amongst believers. And I've seen a number of occasions. I was actually out one day, I won't say where for fear that these people might recognize, but I overheard a conversation from this individual behind me who was obnoxious and talking loud, and they were going on and on about, did this with the church and that with the church, and oh, you should have seen it, and the devil has just been putting so many challenges in my path. Every time I do something right for God, the devil comes back to smack me down. And I'm thinking, maybe you're just an asshole, and that's what happens, because you're an extremely annoying individual.
Maybe you wanted to smack him down, right?
Yeah, I was like, I'm sitting here trying to enjoy myself, and I can't even think because you're cackling behind me.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe
that's
if you...
That's what I mean. Yeah, they're just no offense, but they are really obnoxious. I was just going to the store talking about the economy and how, you know, it's hard to get a job. I experienced New Orleans. I wasn't there during Hurricane Katrina, but I lived out there after post-Katrina, and it was a big mess then. And the lady's like, oh, you just got to put it in God's hands. And I feel like people need to not do that because not a lot of people want to hear that. You know, I mean, I know that my experience with God, I'm starting to be very angry with him. And I don't even know what to call myself. I'm what do they call it? I'm conflicted between what is and what isn't. And right now I think it's better for me not to touch it at all because, like, the more I try to go get right about it, the more I'm an unhappy person. I'm miserable. I'm hating people who supposedly follow in his path, but then they do twisted things, you know, like family members saying they're into God, but then they're not supporting their family like they're supposed to. There's a lot of hypocrites in that, you know, or pimps that once were pimps and then now they're preachers. I have a problem with that.
Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of this is simply human nature. You're going to find it. You're going to find hypocrites everywhere you go. There are going to be hypocrites within this organization. Your idea that you should just not touch it and leave it alone, I'm not sure I completely agree, but I would say that if dealing with this is causing you discomfort, suffering, annoyance, stop.
Yeah.
Go live your life for the things you enjoy, and you know, if this is a subject that you feel you need to come back and address in greater detail at another time, just make sure that you do it with intellectual honesty. That when you're asking questions, your only goal is to find the truth and not simply to find whatever answer sounds comforting, because that's exactly what those people are doing when they offer up stupid little platitudes like put it in God's hand. They're trying to offer you comfort, but it's hollow comfort.
It's very hollow, yeah.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to ask you guys before you guys hang up,
sure.
Was, because, you know, there's a very small venue of people like myself. I'm African American, I'm a female, and it's a minority for people like me to say what I'm saying. And I don't have anybody to talk to about this out here where I live. I've tried to talk to other people, and they don't want to talk about it. They want to just do what they do. They want to live godless, but they don't want to touch the issues, you know. But I really feel like there's some people I need to really get this all out. I'm kind of embarrassed about being on the air, you know, because there's so much more I want to say. But is there any kind of thing or you know, number, somebody I can talk to about this more frequently, that way I can really feel where I'm coming from and see if this is what, is this the path I'm going on? Am I going on the right path?
Well, you can email us.
Okay.
So if you
actually, I mentioned a group earlier, Recovering Religionists, and there are others, and there are also local groups. Granted, I wouldn't want to shove you in with an atheist group right off the bat or anything, but there are people that you can actually talk to, and one of the things you can do is email tv@atheist-community.org. It's at the bottom of the screen right now if you're watching the stream.
Yes.
And just make sure you put like NPR or AETV in the subject. And there's a bunch of us that go through the email. If you put a note in the subject that was like, you know, Kim, today's caller or whatever, one of us will get back and get you some links to some organizations that you can talk to. If nothing else, it may, if you're actually willing to just kind of set this aside for a second and get on with your life, you may be looking for a group that has nothing to do with atheism, religion, anything else. Find a group that's related to an activity that you actually enjoy. You know, my girlfriend knits, and so she's been, you know, with some knitting groups, and I crochet, and I've been with crochet groups, but I also have board game groups and card game groups and video game groups, and, you know, maybe if there's some particular interest, sometimes getting away from it, like you were suggesting entirely, is a good way to clear your head.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the people that are offering you these silly little platitudes that are pretty meaningless, most of them are just as brainwashed as I'm sure you were at some point. You know,
still am, yeah.
I mean, they've been heavily indoctrinated, and I think they mean well. They just don't realize how meaningless those words are.
I'll tell you a secret. I've been in that situation where I'm hearing a problem from somebody, and it's uncomfortable because I have no answer.
That's true.
And my discomfort would, at the time when I was religious, make me offer up those platitudes. You're being challenged, you're being tested, and you just need to put this in God's hands, and I'm sure God has a plan for you, and it'll all work. I've said those things before, and while I meant them sincerely because they were things that I believed, and while I was desperately trying to do the best I could to assist somebody in need, all of my intentions were sincere, I was, in hindsight, lying through my teeth.
Yes,
because
true.
I was terrified that I had nothing nice or good to say and nothing productive to offer to that person.